Welcome to the Dope Sheet, just one guy's opinion. I'm Wayne Demers, and here tonight we will be talking about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. This is a story that was in Marvel Comics back in, I think, the early 80s, maybe late 70s, but definitely early 80s. The movie is rated PG-13. It runs an hour and 30 minutes. It's in IMAX. It's in 3D and standard edition. Today I saw it in standard edition format, so I can't comment to the experience you would have in 3D or IMAX. The movie rated PG-13 is primarily for violence and maybe some language. The director is Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis is best known as a caption actor. He did Snoke in the last three Star Wars films. He also did Caesar in Planet of the Apes, and he's most well known for Gollum in Lord of the Rings trilogy. Excellent actor, even if you've seen him in other movies where he is himself. He's not a computer generated actor. Very good actor. Very, very talented guy. The story is by Tom Hardy, the actor, and it's written by Kelly Marcel. And I bring those up for a reason in just a moment. It stars Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock in Venom, Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy in Carnage, Naomi Harris as Frances Barrison in Shriek, Michelle Williams as Annie Weighing. Yes, Annie Weighing. Stephen Graham as Detective Mulligan. So let's talk about the story for a second. You have Eddie Brock, and this is the non-spoiler portion. I'm not going to spoil anything here. This is pretty much what you see in the trailer. But Eddie Brock is covering a story of a serial killer named Cletus Cassidy. And he's been captured. He's on death row, and Cletus wants Eddie Brock to tell his story, and so he invites him in and gives him a little bit of information. And Cletus becomes Carnage, and Eddie Brock, who we already know he is Venom, they're symbiotes, and it's a hero versus villain fight. That's really what you get out of the trailer, and that is the thin plot of this movie. Okay, so let's go into some of the pros again, not spoiling anything here. Casting is very good. Directing is very good. The visual effects are very good. But the mid-credit scene, so the scene that's during midway through the credits, and we'll talk about that in the spoiler section, that's the part that's got you saying, don't stop here. But it's not a perfect movie. It's not a great movie, in fact. Oh, hi, kitty. I don't know if you made the camera, but sorry, you've got to go away. So the cons. I felt like after watching the movie, again, the movie runs an hour and 30 minutes. So the trailer to me gave too much away. There are scenes in the movie that would have had a much more comedic impact if we didn't know. Again, if you've seen the trailer and you know there's a scene where Venom is making breakfast and asks him if he wants ketchup, and he goes to squirt it and it squirts all over Eddie Brock. You know what? When you're watching the movie, almost nobody laughed. Why? Because we knew it was coming. We've seen it in the trailer. That would have been a small little piece, not to put in the trailer, that would have had a big audience impact while they were watching. In fact, that's the same for any element of the movie where you would have, I think it would have been probably even best if they had not shown us Carnage in the trailer. Maybe we hear him talk, maybe we see an arm or we see an outline, but I think it would have had a much bigger impact during the movie if we hadn't already seen him in the trailer. And that was very evident because we knew what he looked like. And then in the movie, you're supposed to, they give you a moment of anticipation before we see him. And I'm like, but there's no anticipation here. I've already seen him in the trailer. So I feel like the people who did the trailer for the movie did the movie some injustice because there were buildups in the movie that were already spoiled by the trailer. So I wish that had been done a little different. The writing doesn't provide enough character development of the character Cletus Cassidy or Francis Barrison. Not going to get into details here just yet, but I just feel like we didn't get enough time to care about these characters. We didn't get enough time to care about, hi kitty, yeah, please go on the floor. We just didn't have enough time to care about the pairing in the trailer. We know there's a connection between Cletus and Francis. So, but during the movie, I felt like you didn't really give me enough to make me care about either one of these two, nor do I even care about their relationship. So, again, I just felt like that's a con for me. With a runtime of 1 hour and 30 minutes, maybe you could have added 15 to 20 minutes and given us more of the horror of Cletus Cassidy. Maybe we get Tom Hardy actually tracking down Cletus, reporting on Cletus, Cletus enjoying Tom Hardy or Eddie Brock coverage in the newspapers of what he's done. So, and especially we're in October now. We're in October. We have Halloween. So to me, this would have been a really good time to have actually made the story a little bit more on the horror genre and then transition into the comic book world, which is Venom and Carnage. So to me, that would have been a better way to approach it. And then we also have a character, Detective Mulligan, and he's a bit character in here, but he's in so many scenes that I just kind of felt like this character is going to have more of an impact to this story down the road. I don't know if it'll happen in this film or down the road, but he's in enough scenes that, and yet once I've watched the movie, I kind of felt like I don't know that we necessarily needed him in this. So that's going to be the end of the non-spoiler review. I enjoyed the movie. I thought the movie was entertaining. I felt like it was as good as the last movie, Venom. So if you enjoyed Venom, I think you're going to enjoy Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I think you'll enjoy this one. A lot of what I heard from people as they were leaving were mixed. I had some people that felt like the movie was kind of garbage and didn't really bring anything new to the story. And then I heard a lot of people that were also happy with it and felt it was just as good as the last one. So I heard mixed reviews coming out, and my own review, my own feeling was like, it didn't let me down, but it didn't supersede, or it didn't do better than what I expected it to do. And in full disclosure, I think I fell asleep for like 30 seconds in the movie because it was just a slow part in the movie, and it just couldn't keep me locked in and engaged. And I just kind of probably drifted my head down for a second. Then I said, oh, wow. And that's telling because a movie like this, I was really heavily anticipating and looking forward to enjoying it. And all I kept seeing were, well, I saw that in the trailer. So I kind of already know where we're headed. And it's like, okay, just get me through the scenes that I've already seen in the trailer. So do you want to go and spend your $12 to $17 to go see a movie that That's where it's going to leave you, kind of like, I don't know. Again, the mid-credit scene, that was worth going to see, because that is going to set up something else. Whether it's in, well, we'll get to it. So if you want to know what it sets up, hang on to this video, because I'm about to get into some of the spoilers in the movie. So if you don't want to know anything about the movie right now before you go see it, stop here and come back, because I'm about to go into spoilers. So don't hate on me if I spoil it for you, because here we go. So again, talking about Venom, we get the same Venom that we did before. He's witty, he's funny, he always wants to eat humans because he's hungry, and that's a big plot line in this whole movie, because Venom actually gets into an argument with Eddie Brock and leaves Eddie Brock's body and goes from person to person to person, and he's just not a match for their physique. And I think they covered that in the first movie of Venom, how the symbiote has to be a match with their host. And in the end, that was an interesting way to play out the story. I like the story. Wow, I got a moth in here. It was an interesting way, but it just gets kind of drawn out. I didn't think it needed to be as drawn out as it did. But then that plays into the story about when they come back together and how they appreciate each other. And now let's go fight Carnage. So now we'll take a step back and talk about Cletus Cassidy and Francis Barrison. So Cletus is played by Woody Harrelson, who's excellent. We know his work as playing psychopaths in movies, and he's very good at doing that. And I think he's very good at doing this one. But I think we get exactly what we expect from Woody Harrelson too. So for me, I was just a little bit disappointed that there wasn't a lot of buildup to Cletus and Carnage becoming one. It happens rather quick, because as we already see in the trailer, yet another thing that was just kind of spoiled, he bites Eddie Brock. Okay. He bites him and he's like, ooh, I've tasted blood before, and that's not it. And then sure enough, what he's done was he somehow got some Venom. And so he has like this little blood stain on his fingertip, which starts to move. So he just licks it, sucks it down, and then that permeates through his body. And that's how he becomes Carnage, because Carnage grows within him. And then while he is on the injection table to be euthanized, he's on death row, he's going to pay for his crimes, Carnage comes in and stops the flow of the deadly injection, and then takes over Cletus's body and becomes Carnage. And I just kind of felt like it happened so fast, just the way it did in the trailer, that I was like, this is nothing new. And if you happen to have a PlayStation and you watch the trailer on your PlayStation, I think the day or two before, they released the whole scene online. And I have to tell you, what exciting to watch it before you go into the movie. But while you're watching the movie, there's nothing new. There's nothing exciting to watch. So going back to my earlier comment, I definitely think the trailer did the movie injustice, because it took too many impactful scenes that actually made watching the movie a little boring. And which is one of the things I struggle with, is when do I watch a trailer and when do I not watch a trailer? I certainly want to be able to tell you about, oh, this is what I'm excited for, and, did you see the trailer? And at the same time, I'm like, this movie is a good example of things that get spoiled, and the movie is not as impactful as it was intended to be, because too much is revealed at the beginning. So Cletus, because we don't understand, they tell you a little bit how they were in this correctional facility psychiatric correctional facility, and then they're parted. Francis is moved, and Cletus is distraught over it. And pretty much, people, this is what we get in the movie. I mean, I just don't understand their bond. I don't understand why they were really there in the first place. I don't know why she's there in the first place. We know she has powers because she says she has powers. And then we find out what her power is as she gets transferred. But I just kind of felt like, I don't get this buy-in that there's this bond between them. And quite honestly, I don't think Francis Barrison really needed to be in this film, because I feel like it could have been written without that character, or the character of Shriek, because Francis becomes this villain called Shriek, to which, again, I don't even believe the character, because I don't know what her motive is to be such a bad person. But Cletus, we know, is a serial killer, and I don't know how to make sense of that. So I'll just take it that he's a serial killer. Something happened to him in his childhood, which that is also referred to in the movie. And I just felt like we could have built for 15 minutes, if we had spent some time with how Eddie Brock follows Cletus to probably even help put him in prison, and maybe Cletus is envious or admires Eddie Brock's tenacity to track him down and put him in there, put him in jail, then that would have been a better story. I just felt like I would have cared more about the characters a little bit more, but I don't. And so Cletus falls flat with me. Francis falls very flat with me. So then the story develops as adults, and now Cletus becomes Carnage. Carnage and Cletus make a deal. You give me what I want, I'll give you what you want. Cletus wants his girlfriend that he probably hasn't seen since they were kids. So again, not really believable to me. But okay, so Cletus wants to get Francis out of prison wherever she is, and Carnage wants to go after Venom. And I'm not really sure why, because Venom is his father, but that's his motive. That's just who he is. He's got to take down Venom. Carnage has to be about Carnage. And I'm okay with that, because that ultimately is who he is. But I just don't have any motivation to believe too much about this character, because it's so rushed. It's like, boom, I'm the villain, and now I'm coming after the good guy. And that's just how it unfolds. Again, I feel like the weak part here is not in the casting. I don't feel like it's in the directing. I don't think the premise of the story is bad, but I think the writing is weak. And if there was any part of the original script that went into these details, then that really somebody should have fought to keep that, because it really would have put this movie certainly more on par with a Marvel Universe movie, Marvel Studios movie, where this one I feel still falls short. And this is a Sony film. Okay, so even though Venom is a Marvel character, Sony owns the rights to him, so this is a Sony movie. So Detective Mulligan, we talked about him earlier, played by Stephen Graham. He's been in a number of things, mostly British movies. I like him. He's a very good actor. But I felt like he was just being pushed on scene too much. And I'm like, I don't understand his motive always to constantly be, hey, I need to catch this guy. I need more proof. And I just said, well, if you're showing him this much, he's going to play a significant role later on in the movie. And what we find out is near the end of the film, he becomes, I don't know if he's going to be a villain or a good guy. But we know that something has happened to him. His eyes glow blue, and he's either a good guy or a bad guy. I'm not really sure. I don't know enough about the comics to follow his story. but I felt like he didn't always fit in, and they were just constantly wedging him into the story. So I didn't feel like there was a very well written storyline for this guy to be here all the time. So good acting, but I just felt like he didn't fit in the story, and that to me was a writing issue. So as we move on, Venom ultimately has some witty lines and some dialogue that we see right in the trailer, and maybe they left out this one little bit in the movie in the trailer that was in the movie that made it a little funnier. But again, some of the delivery was already ruined by the trailer. I've already covered that, so we'll just accept that for what it is. And lo and behold, Venom beats Carnage. And I believe they also kill off Francis. And geez, I just saw the movie and I can't really remember, but I believe Francis dies. And that's pretty much the end. Now the police know that Tom Hardy is Venom, so those two have to go on the run because now the authorities are looking for them, even though they saved, people don't realize, but they saved the world from the symbiote Carnage. So now that's the end of the movie, and I was like, not bad. I wasn't really let down, but it didn't live up to the hype, in my opinion. I was really looking forward to this one, and it doesn't leave me wanting to go back and see it. Mid-credit scene. This is where all the talk out the door was. The vast majority of the talk about the movie was. The mid-credit scene is now Eddie Brock and Venom are on a beach. It's covered at the very beginning of the movie when Venom is talking about, something he would like to do on his bucket list. And so now here they are on a beach at maybe a resort or something. And then they're in their room and they're talking about how much knowledge Venom would have. And Venom's talking about, well, I'm older and I've visited more space in the universe. You have no idea how much I know. And Eddie Brock's like, well, just show me. And so he's just about to show him, and then boom, something happens where the room is transformed from this, real gritty, grimy room to a 5-star resort. They're still in the room. And then you turn to the television that's on, and on there is J. Jonah Jameson, right? The Daily Bugle. And this scene comes from the end of Spider-Man, which one was it? Spider-Man, Far From Home. And so, hi, Kitty. Yes. And so the moment that J. Jonah Jameson outs Peter Parker to the world as Spider-Man, or Spider-Man is Peter Parker, that's the part that plays on the television. And Venom walks over to the TV and just licks the screen and says, that guy. Which now tells us, sorry, Kitty, I love you too. That now tells us that we have just gone to an alternate dimension. Something happened. Eddie Brock says, did you do that? And Venom's like, I didn't do that. And with that, I believe we have a tie-in to the next Spider-Man movie where we get into Doctor Strange, and we will be talking about the multiverse. And so I think something happens in the multiverse that brings Venom now into Spider-Man's world. Because Venom, for those of you who don't know, Venom was always in Spider-Man's world, because that's how the story is. J. Jonah Jameson's son is an astronaut. They go off on a mission. They come back, and Venom is brought back to Earth and then bonds with Eddie Brock. I believe Eddie Brock was a photographer, reporter, and he has a rivalry with Peter Parker, and that's why he doesn't like Peter Parker. Therefore, Venom doesn't like Spider-Man. Well, I take that back, because Venom then bonds with Peter Parker. Peter Parker thinks that the symbiote is just a living costume. But then Peter realizes that he's more aggressive and he's not being who he wants to be. And so he rejects Venom, and Venom finds Eddie Brock. That's the story. And so Venom, from that point, becomes a villain to Spider-Man. So we're getting all of this in this tiny little clip. If you already know the history, it's a big deal that Venom is now there with Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Sony gave the rights to Marvel to include Spider-Man in their movies. So is Venom now in the Marvel world, or is Spider-Man coming back to Sony? I don't know. That's going to be very interesting. So that's the part that everybody talks about. There is no after credit scene. So once you see that moment midway through the credits, that's it. So you don't got to sit through all the rest because there's nothing at the end. I've already told you once, I'll tell you again. I enjoyed the movie. I felt like it was entertaining. I felt like it was worth the $12 for me to go and watch the film. I look forward to maybe watching it again when it streams. But like the original Venom movie, I only watched it once in the theaters and then once at home. And it's probably going to be what happens now with this movie for me, is I probably will brush up on it and after I see the next Spider-Man film. And I really hope what we get is an after credit scene, or maybe even something shocking, something in the movie with Venom. Because that I think is really what we wanted to see. I know Venom was in one of the, I think it was the third film of the original Spider-Man series, but we didn't get the real Venom that we all wanted to see there. So anyway, I look forward to seeing this Venom and with this Peter Parker and see what comes of the whole thing, to be honest with you. Anyway, so take it upon yourself to go see the film. If you've already seen the movie and you agree with what I have to what I've had to say, go ahead down in the comments and let me know what you think. If you don't agree with me, that's okay. Go ahead down in the comments, put down what you thought about the movie and whether or not it was worth your price of admission. Next week, I'm not sure what comes out just yet. I am going to do another video here shortly about everything that we're going to be getting in October, because there are some good things coming out in October that I'm looking forward to. James Bond, Dune, and then Halloween is in the next installment of Halloween, and a couple other movies. So watch for that video that'll be coming in, because I would like to review that and talk about some of the streaming things that are live right now. Okay, so this was just one guy's opinion, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Please click subscribe, and if you want to get notified when I upload a video, click the bell. You don't want to do it, that's okay. I'm not in this for the money. I'm just in here because I just want to save you some money from paying the price of admission if the movie isn't good enough for you. Anyway, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next video.